All right, welcome to week three. This week we are kind of straying away from the text. I wanted to give you guys an example of how a contemporary political theorist by the name of Peter Euban engaged in what he considered to be kind of an act of recovery and in exploring what he thought was one of the formative moments in Western civilization and a creative moment in terms of how political theory came into existence, right? And I talked in the overview about sort of just how powerful the Battle of Salamis, along with the Battle of Marathon, but the Battle of Salamis, according to Euban, really is one of those moments because it was a myth-making moment, right? And why are myths so important in terms of the creation of of an entire way of thinking about the world. And in this instance, what he's basically saying is that the myth created another myth, the myth of autonomy, the myth that we're not guided by the gods, right? This is really what Euban is talking about. There's another aspect of the Battle of Salamis because he's basically saying that the threat that the Persians posed to Athens in particular and to their way of life fundamentally caused them to decenter themselves. They basically set aside the whole idea of the nobility running things. In ancient Greece, basically it was the landed nobility that ran those societies. Most Greek city-states were effectively what we would call oligarchies. The wealthy families controlled most of the arable land. They controlled most of the trade, and they did most of the fighting. Plato's idea about a guardian class was actually pretty much stretching back in terms of how Greek civilization organized itself socially. The people with money were the ones that could form the phalanx. They were the ones that could afford the shield and the military weaponry, the accoutrement of what would go into being a Greek warrior. And so it was considered to be, uh, you know, an honorable thing to be able to be a warrior and not something that commoners were supposed to be able to do. The Battle of Salamis is significant in that it was a naval battle. And for the most part, Athenian, nobility looked down their noses at the Navy. They basically said, this is not something we want to do. If it doesn't involve horses or shields or spears, we don't want to have anything to do with it. And it was the Athenian middle class that really won the Battle of Salamis. And that, to Euban, is really important because it breaks up what had considered to be an unquestioned, this is how the gods have us do things. It breaks that up, that sense of hierarchy. And it causes Athenians to think about what are we? Who can we be? And that opens up a vein of criticism that can't be really staunched. Once critical thinking, once you start thinking, and once you start diagnosing, and once you start attributing cause, it's hard to get the human brain to stop that. Okay, and so as always, I want you to make your initial post be something that helps me understand that you have at least read the article. Whether you follow the whole thing or not, that's, I know that might be too much to expect. But I also I want you to bring your confusion into these forums. If there's something that Euban, says that you don't understand, try and find a way of asking me a question about it. I know sometimes when you don't understand it, it's because you don't understand some of the words within it. Ask me about, what do these words mean? What does it mean in context of this sentence? That's really a good approach to looking at these kind of articles. So, hopefully we'll have a good week of discussion, and because I, for one, think this is a fantastic article, really well written and really well conceived. And also because it really touches on so many aspects of, foundational Greek life, like the Peloponnesian Wars, Pericles, all this great stuff. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the article, and I hope we have a good week of discussion.